electrocution, mass power blackout, system failures. Welcome to the first ever 100 Bionic Start Challenge of Oxygen Not Included. Are Bionics overpowered? Or are they actually even harder to sustain than normal dupes? We will find out if we can keep all of them alive for at least 100 days on this small planet, the Desolans. Compared to 100 normal dupes, the opening for 100 Bionics is quite peaceful at first glance. They have a built-in oxygen tank to support them, and currently nobody is actually breathing from the environment. However, supplying Bionics with oxygen isn't easy at all, because Bionics still consume oxygen at the same rate as regular dupes. The oxygen demand might be delayed, but it can't be prevented. If we are unprepared, things will go terribly wrong at cycle 3 or 4 when all of them start sucking oxygen violently. We need really a lot of oxygen diffusers. We also need to dig out a huge base so the oxygen diffusers can produce enough oxygen before being overpressured. But oxygen is not our biggest problem. Bionic duplicants requires power instead of food, and they are extremely power hungry. The printing pod is still giving out free power banks that comes with each Bionic, so we are spared for about 6 cycles. Once we run out of free power, a 100 Bionic colony relying on metal power banks would consume a ridiculous 20 tons of metal per cycle. They will devour the entire planet in no time and leave us with no more metal to build our infrastructure. But we aren't going to sit here and accept defeat. There are a few options that could potentially save us. For a small starting planet, an early space travel to other planets could be possible. We have the teleporter spawning conveniently close to our base, and oil is also pretty close. The fate of our Bionics would depend on if we can utilize these resources efficiently. Algae and oxygen diffusers are not going to hold for long. We need to prepare our spawn now. The excess hydrogen from the spawn would help a lot at powering up our Bionics. Although given the insane power consumption of Bionics, our spawns would not be even close to cover their power deficit. Not far from our base, we already run into abyssalite areas. Some of our Bionics started with extreme digging boosters, so they have no problem digging through abyssalite. Although it's possible to recruit normal dupes that start with extreme digging skills, they only have a rare chance to be rolled. Bionics are the objectively easier choice to dig through hard terrain quickly. They need the new gunk extractors to get rid of their gunk properly. They only need to do that about every 3 cycles, so maybe this amount of extractors would be enough? It seems I made the room too large to qualify as a washroom. Whatever, I'll fix it later. We're not that desperate for morale yet. Our Bionics seem to be doing things quite efficiently, but it's only because they are still feeding on starting resources. When the free resources are exhausted, Bionics desperately searching for oxygen and power banks would be a nightmare to manage. We need to make good use of this brief peaceful time. I have done the layout for 2 spawns, and 2 more are in progress. I'm also going to dig out as much metal as possible, but given how small this planet is, I don't think this amount of metal is going to hold for even 10 cycles. Supercomputers coming up, we are going to research hydrogen generators and smart batteries. No dupes or Bionics can ever start with advanced research skills, so even with 100 Bionics, there's no way we can use supercomputer right at the beginning. We already got the access much faster than usual by crafting research booster with microchips produced from these sleeping Bionics. These coal are going to be handy in this run too, not only because we need every bit of power source, but also we need carbon dioxide to fuel our rocket. Bionics don't exhale carbon dioxide, so without something to burn, we might never have a chance to produce them. The water pools here have a small size, so we better set up other backup pools in advance. It's intimidating to have Bionics working inside water. We all know Bionics can get shocked for doing that. But how bad could it be? Well, they will get occasional shocking animation and 200% stress per cycle for liquid exposure. But a cycle is 600 seconds. That's pretty long. If the Bionics can finish the job and get out quickly, we'll probably be fine. Since our Bionics can hold for a little while inside water, why don't we release this water packet to cool the hot oil on the right? If I haven't mentioned, I'm gonna do this run without atmosuits. Don't you want to test the limit of Bionics? Oxygen is getting thin, but our first spawn has just officially started running, and 2 more are almost finished. I hope we made it in time. We need these soldering stations to craft advanced booster types and rechargeable eco power banks. These stations requires 480 watts to operate. We are going to spend a lot of power before we can even start charging our own power banks. This water pool on the top needs to be reshaped a little bit. It's not about OCD. We just really need to make more space in this tiny planet. We're now ready to connect the spawn rooms, spread the hydrogen, and here we go. Second and third spawn running. But did you see that? We've got countless gunk extraction needed notification at the same time. I guess it can't hurt to add more gunk extractors. Why do we need this pitcher pump though? It's because we have to recycle the gunk into gear bomb to keep our bionics lubricated. The gear bomb production requires doctoring skills. Doctors are finally not useless in this game now. But how did we get so much water leaking here? I thought I was careful enough when dealing with that water pool. Anyway, this leak wasn't that bad. We can have the water cool down the hot oil biome before we actually consume it. Just like how we intentionally released water into oil on the right, now the hot oil is just 40 degrees. Gear bomb crafting feels really slow, but I don't have much more doctors to add to the job. Let's just start pumping these oil we just cooled down. This mission feels even more risky because we're stepping into more water. But since we have so many bionics splitting the jobs, they don't have to spend that long in this dangerous area. The only poor guy is this builder. He's gotta stay a bit longer to finish the pump, but it's still just 20% of stress. It's gonna be fine. I'm rather worried about our metal stockpile. We have only 10 tons of copper ore left. That's just enough to feed our bionics for half a cycle. But we have researched basic radiation technology. We can now craft uranium power banks. This map seed rolled the radioactive crust trait, so uranium can be found on the surface. I hope I'm not playing fire. We don't really know if radioactive power banks would hurt us, but suffocation will definitely be fatal. We need 12 spawns in total to supply 100 bionics with oxygen, and we better build the remaining 9 spawns fast. Now I kinda regret dumping gunk up here. As we start building smart batteries and power bank chargers, we're gonna need a massive amount of refined metals. One of the advantages of starting in Desolands is free refined metals. Well, not exactly free. Our dupes are being scalded, so we better retreat now. One of them didn't make it out in time, but we have triage cots, and we have teammates. Well, maybe some of them put breathing before saving teammates, but we have a lot more teammates. Rescue mission accomplished. I really don't like running power chargers with manual generators. It's true that it doesn't cost any resources, but it's costing way too much time. It takes one bionic to spend 60% of their life on the wheel just to solve their own power problem. That's even way more time wasting than dupes feeding on mush bars. As much as I hate it, we don't have much choice right now until we set up enough alternative power sources. At least they aren't scalding when they pick up lead quickly enough. Oxygen is looking so bad, but 2 more spawns are almost ready to go. That's still way less than the 12 spawns we need. We are still alive only because we are burning through our algae stockpile. We better be quick before all the algae are depleted. But why are we using smart batteries when there's nothing to be automated? If we think about it, metal ore can be made into power banks, but refined metals cannot be used. Since we can't convert refined metal back to metal ore, there's just no way to directly convert refined metal into power. We could make microchips with refined metals to tune up generators, but we already have a lot of them from our sleeping bionics. So due to the uniqueness of our challenge, metal ore is more valuable and scarce than refined metals. Coal generators coming up to support 2 more power bank chargers. We don't have any cooling system yet, so I hope the steam vent below could get along with us for a while. Now we have the carbon source. It's time to research gas technology and carbon dioxide rockets. We would still need to scout the star map around us first, but can't hurt to get the rockets ready early. Since this water pool has finished its job of oil cooling, let's merge it with the other 2 nearby pools. Our mission with naked bionics inside water gets more dangerous each time, but with good teamwork, this is a challenge we can overcome. I would like to drain this water pool as well, because we need to make room for our spawn expansion. The oxygen overlay is suggesting we should hurry up. But rushing more spawns only solve half of the problem. The more important problem is, where could we get more water sources? With 100 bionics breathing, our current water pool is gonna run out very quickly. There's an obvious option right in front of us. We're going to the teleporter planet. Taking the teleporter with a bionic is actually quite risky, because it was designed before bionics exist. We have to start with 0 power banks, 0 gear oil, and 0 infrastructure. There are free food and critters here, but they are completely useless for us. The teleporter has a cooldown, so nobody else can come to rescue for another 5 cycles. This lone bionic has to survive from scratch, and all by itself. It's gonna take quite a while for a single bionic to finish the initial jobs. We should be worried, but we can't afford to keep staring at it. Let's get another spawn up in the new free space we got from draining the water. Alright, the bionic still looks alive, and we've got some materials to build. Let's get a crafting station with basic power system, so we have the ability to make power banks in the new planet. We also need a gunk extractor for the teleporter bionic. It would be enjoying a private toilet. This water pool is going down as well. Just like the last pool, I want to use its coolness to neutralize the heat from the oil biome before consuming it. I really wish I could enter the oil biome soon. Why is the bionic toilet not finished yet? I guess he was occupied making the power banks. Let's give the toilet a higher priority. Well, he didn't make it in time, but there's always a little risk to be the pioneer. Look at these green lights, aren't they pretty? But they are actually radiation emitted from bionics that ate uranium power banks. I bet they are not feeling very well right now. These random gunk spills on the ground suggest they have been vomiting due to radiation. That's not very comfortable for sure, but at least vomiting helps them expel radiation. Wow, our 100 bionics managed to eat all the copper in just 15 cycles. We did find this last copper mine under the big water pool, but I'm not sure if this is enough for even one more cycle. This sink is broken? I must have somehow connected it to the waste pipe, but it serves no purpose for bionics except to make the room qualify as washroom, and a broken sink works equally well for this purpose. Anyway, I think it is the time to step into the next transition. We have to get the space project going, and the first thing I need is astronomy and piloting boosters to scout the star map and launch the rocket. They need 8 microchips per booster. It's really pricey for a normal run, but our 100 bionic army can produce that in no time. I was a bit inaccurate when I keep referring these electrolyzers as SPOMs, because I haven't added the hydrogen generators. Since we have accumulated a lot of hydrogen, it is time to start profiting from hydrogen power. The telescope research is ready, but where should I put them? Since the bionics can easily work in vacuum, let's just make them scout the star map up there. I have to first assign the new crafted astronomy booster to the science dupe though. I guess I'm kinda used to finding someone out of a list of 100 names after doing the 100 dupes challenge. Before we get into more major projects, let's treat our bionics with some gear bomb. It always scares me when all of them crowd into the same place. But fortunately, unlike 100 normal dupes, bionics won't exhale carbon dioxide and suffocate themselves. Time to get back to work. We have made some quick power using uranium at the price of vomiting, but that won't last for long. We need to seize the time to build a mass hydrogen generator setup before everyone is occupied by eternal wheel running. The astronomers are also doing their best to reveal the star map. I am now both excited and anxious when I think about the upcoming multi-colony and rocket managing challenges. We have finally completed the power plant, but it seems it's one tile too large to qualify. That can be fixed easily when you don't have OCD, just add a random tile somewhere in the room. Now we got the next critical project to do. We gotta activate the supply teleporters so we can start sending resources back home. The output supply teleporter was already found, and it's just below this oil biome. It was initially too hot to go in, but since we have drained the water pool onto this biome for quite a while, it should be much safer to enter now. And as we dig deeper into the oil biome, these water will also fall with us and continue to act as a thermal buffer to prevent scalding. We have almost reached the supply teleporter at home planet. At this stage, we probably shouldn't bring the water down with us anymore. We don't want our bionics to work constantly in a flooded area. Let's try to contain the water to the left and make a dry detour path on the right. Meanwhile, the supply teleporter at the second planet was actually naturally flooded. There's too much water to be mopped, but if we dig out a few tiles, the little amount of water remaining on the ground should be moppable. We finally reached the supply teleporter from the detour path. It's time for the team to get in and build the liquid pipes. The air circulation down here doesn't look nice. Perhaps digging a new tunnel here would help a bit? And here's our plan for logistics. We will send hydrogen from home to second planet, so the second planet will not have to worry about power for quite a while. Then we can send water from second planet back to home to support our 99 bionics with oxygen and power. Maybe the plan would get complicated later when we colonize more planets, but we will worry about that later. I'm afraid our power infrastructure is still insufficient. Let's get rid of the old small batteries and renovate them to power chargers, generators, smart batteries, and more spawns. That was quite some building effort. How many power chargers do we have now? We've got 55. Is that enough? Apparently not. It seems our power reserve is still decreasing despite all the power infrastructure we just built. I'm now desperately searching and digging random metal ore tiles to make metal power banks. Metal power banks are so costly in metal, but they are very time efficient, and we just have to fall back using them to quickly recover from power crisis. But another crisis is going on. How are they suffocating when there's still a lot of oxygen? This is so scary. It looks like the huge column of spam is blocking the airflow between its two sides. Maybe adding a row of airflow tiles could help a little bit? And at the second planet, we are having a stress crisis. I'm a bit surprised because they're supposed to have an easier time here without 100 bionics competing for resources. It must be bothered by lack of gear oil. It's hard to get gear oil production set up here quickly, so let's try the skill that halves the grinding gear penalty and give it a nice sleeping vacation. Let's send a third bionic through the teleporter to assist the project there, and make more bionics learn the same skill to alleviate grinding gears. But for the suffocation issue, we might be able to solve the root cause by adding the last two spawns directly at the left. It would be much better if they don't have to run all the way back to find enough oxygen. What the f***? An emergency water spill! We're not even caring about bionic liquid exposure anymore. We have to save the metal power banks. If they are wet for too long, they would explode and generate massive heat, and our already scarce power banks would be wasted. The water must be coming from space. We have ice meteors on this planet, and they would melt quickly after impact. I guess digging a hole to contain unexpected water might be sufficient to stop it from leaking into our base again. Yikes! A bionic was incapacitated because it has run out of power completely. It could still be saved if someone else delivers a new power bank and help it reboot before it's too late, but this could mean the entire power situation is getting even worse. And now they're complaining for no gear oil at home planet. Our gear bomb production must have been too slow. Maybe our 3 medical bionics aren't enough at all. Apart from assigning the gear improvement skill again, there's some crude oil we found on the left that might be immediately helpful. I really hope this little oil pool could help them out because the entire colony is now really stressed. Grinding gears and toasty surroundings, that's just too much for them to handle. Speaking of toasty surroundings, these power chargers are even more sensitive to temperature, but we should be grateful that they survived for so long being next to an erupting steam vent. Let's move them to a slightly safer place. This industrial area is also overheating, but I don't think we can manage to move so many machines. And unfortunately, we don't have a proper base cooling yet. Let's try snaking the water pipe around them and see if that could cool them down a little bit. Oh shit! One of our bionics are freaking out and shocking everyone literally. It's impossible to stop it until it releases its entire power bank and becomes incapacitated. We can still save it just like how we save the ones that run out of power normally, but that's still quite some energy wasted and our precious power banks ended up hurting ourselves. Someone's suffocating, but how could that be? We have 5 kilograms of oxygen per tile, and somehow it has only 8 seconds of breath before dying. That's nonsense. If it's not breathing, what is it even going to do? Why does it have to look for oxygen when it's literally surrounded by oxygen? So, the game is telling me I need to babysit them so they won't suffocate inside a base full of oxygen? That's just ridiculous. Whatever, we have more things to worry about. The second planet's clean water is used up, and we gotta switch to saltwater pools to support our massive electrolyzing at home. We now have 59 chargers. Is that enough? I guess not. 7 bionics incapacitated together. Things just got really serious. The biggest threat is they will suffocate to death because they can't refill their oxygen tanks. We can't save everyone at the same time, so I'm gonna try triaging. We will loop through these 7 bionics and give a yellow alert on those that are low on oxygen to prioritize saving them. The other bionics with a lot of oxygen in tank can wait a little longer. Yellow alert also gives us a direct count of how many bionics in jeopardy are not yet rescued. It's not a good feature to use generally, but this time it could be the game saver. And unfortunately, our simple solution of using piped water to cool down this industrial area isn't working well enough. But the fortunate part is, we also have free iron at Desolands. Replacing lead power chargers with iron would drastically increase their overheat temperature. There is an useful in-game feature called the Relative Temperature Overlay, which allows us to see areas hotter or colder than a certain temperature we want to observe. If we set it to around 55 degrees, which is the temperature lead chargers start overheating, we could see the safe areas in blue and risky areas in green, yellow, or red. But then I suddenly realized we have been wasting too much time trying to fix power issue. I was preparing rockets at cycle 10 and we're still on the ground at cycle 40. The situation is still harsh, but I can't wait for any longer. Let's start building the rocket interior and prepare resources we need for space travel. I wish I could send a rocket with 2 trailblazers to land comfortably, but currently we have only unlocked the most basic carbon dioxide rocket. They aren't capable of carrying 2 trailblazers in one rocket, but that doesn't stop us from doing it with 2 rockets. We need to prepare piloting boosters to launch the rocket and boosters for digging, building, supplying to set up a new colony on other planets. But the hard part is to ensure survival of our astronauts while they're in space. We do have enough oxygen, but preparing extra power banks for them when we're consistently getting power outage is a nightmare. I could only try to find the bionics that have relatively more power already in their body, and dig out the metal tiles we have been carefully preserving for this purpose. I also banned metal power banks from the consumable tab to keep these metal power banks intact at all costs. This might be the darkest moment for our bionics, but once we start sending them to other planets, the population pressure should be relieved. It is time. Let's launch the rocket that will decide the fate of the humanity. The resources in the rocket is very limited, but our destination is really close. It's just 3 hexes away from home planet. Carbon dioxide engines are fast, so we should be reaching there in less than a cycle. But we need to rendezvous with another trailblazer from the second rocket before we can build a rocket platform and land the rocket. So let's get the second rocket into space now. There's a lot of carbon dioxide on the surface from the rocket exhaust of last launch. If we can store and recycle these gas, we will have more than enough of carbon dioxide to fuel the next rocket launch. A few moments later, we have arrived at the orbit of the third planet. The second rocket is still a few seconds away, but we can land the first trailblazer and do some initial digging. Now this is a real advantage of bionics. Their ability to hold breath for 3 to 4 cycles makes it possible to land on a new planet without any oxygen equipment. And here comes the second rocket. We're still running out of power banks at home. Come on, just hold for a few more cycles and we can get some support from our new developed third planet. Now the rocket platform is done, let's land the rocket and unleash our bionics into this new world. Wait, something's going wrong. I thought these critical power level were happening at home, just like usual, but it's actually our rocket team running out of power. Ah, now I remembered I banned everyone from eating metal power banks before launching, and I totally forgot to enable them back for the rocket team. I guess it's a bit late to notice this error, but at least we already have the power banks ready. As long as one bionic survived, they could reboot the others and save the team. Finally, every Bionics is safely back online. Let's start building the basic infrastructure for this new planet. Wait a second, something is going wrong with our oxygen at home. Now I get it, we only have one desalinator to handle the seawater sent from the second planet. But they can only process 5 kilograms of salt water per second instead of 10, so we were getting only half of the water we need. At least we are lucky enough to notice it before the whole base is unbreathable. Let's clear up a random space to put the second desalinator now. There's nobody in the second rocket after the only pilot trailblazed into the new planet. But a rocket in space can move even without a pilot, so we can ask it to return home on its own. There's another thing that really needs to be automated. Our colony use up 100 eco-power banks every cycle, and they need to be delivered to the power chargers to recharge. If we can deploy some auto-sweepers to automate this process, maybe it could stop the colony from constantly running out of power banks? But first, we need to make some mechatronics booster before we can build the auto-sweepers. But I just looked away for a few seconds, and our new planet is going nuts. There's so many random liquid on the ground, and one of the Bionics is freaking out. Is there anything we can do for him? Now it starts electrocuting everything. This is the rare moment that we wish the Bionic would run out of power sooner. Otherwise, there's no way to stop it from attacking everyone. You can't say they are badly treated though, because it's apparently enjoying it. At least we survived, and the mechatronics boosters are ready. I hope the auto-sweepers would be a major breakthrough for our permanent power bank crisis. The stress problem is really serious as well. I finally made up my mind to assign the 3 skills that prevent stress to all of our 100 Bionics. Now they should be immune to toasty and chilly surroundings, popped eardrums, and the penalty of grinding gears would be halved. I was holding back because I'm worried about morale problem, but now I decided these environmental hazards are messing with their downtime and also their morale. I must have left out one dupe on the climate control skill. It's so painful if I have to browse through the entire list again. I guess I'll just leave it like that. If this is a problem later, the dupe would be more easily spotted when it is stressed. Now I want to start bringing resources back home from the third planet. We were really tight on water at home, so I'll bring all the ice I have collected so far. I'll also bring most metal power banks back home. I'm sure there are enough metal here to make much more. On the other hand, let's do another little emigration towards the third planet. Reducing the home population from 100 to 92 didn't solve the power outage crisis, but maybe it could be fixed if we keep doing it. Resource rocket coming in, emigration rocket going out. The carbon dioxide rocket is even much faster without carrying the Trailblazer module, so it took us only a quarter of a cycle to travel between home and the third planet. The official name of this planet is the Metallic Swampy Asteroid, and it's indeed full of metal. What a paradise for our Bionics! But we can't afford to relax for too long. This planet might have a lot of metal, but it's still not going to support 100 Bionics. We need to continue scouting the star map and find more planets to settle. We were also bothered by the overheating for too long. Let's get a proper permanent cooling system for our Bionics. First, we must start researching and getting the materials for plastic and steel, so we can build the steam turbine and steel aquatuner. Since the carbon dioxide rockets are able to refuel from their own exhaust, we can travel between the two planets as many times as we want. But of course, we still have to make sure they could survive the short journey. Before the permanent cooling setup is done, we still have to do some temporary cooling. Let's try a more artistic approach and build some ice blocks near the steam vent. Now that's way too artistic. Why would you want to sleep inside steam? Okay, enough of this nonsense. Let's start setting up the plastic production. I wish I didn't use up all the free oil for lubrication. Now I need an oil well to produce crude oil from scratch. Plastic production chain isn't very complicated. Just use the oil refinery and don't overthink it. All our bionics are immune to eye irritation, so they don't even mind the natural gas leak. We can cut the production now because a steam turbine only needs 200 kilograms of plastic. It didn't even take us a cycle. But another important thing is we need to start electrolyzing for oxygen in the second planet. For over 40 cycles, this planet has been supporting the home planet with water. But we hardly built any infrastructure here. This place is literally a colony. It's time for a change, and I hope this planet can be made sustainable. It should be much easier with only 6 bionics living here, right? The steam turbine requires radiation research to unlock, but it's already in progress. Suffocation? We still have a few oxygen packs we can open before we start produce oxygen. How bad could it be? What? 1% of breath? Is that game over? Okay, I guess it literally barely survived, but I don't think we can get away from suffocation anymore. The quick workaround is to import oxygen directly from our home planet. The situation is still really harsh, but at least they won't die directly from power outage. It's lucky that the shocking didn't happen while they were almost suffocating. I just realized we already have a hydrogen generator here. There's just no need to build a second one. If we use the pipe instead to send the piped oxygen down there, it should help kickstart the new Hydra. Now we just have to produce some metal power banks to get us out from the crisis. I guess these should have been done much earlier if we weren't distracted by developing other planets. There are sure a lot of distractions. We keep having random stuff freezing and thawing in the third planet. But we did it! This planet is breathable once again. A few uranium power banks should also stop the power outage for now. Another makeshift cooling can be done without using power. Remember this huge pool of gunk we have at the bottom? It is relatively much cooler than our industrial area. If we use liquid bridges to circulate the liquid in a self-loop, they can help equalizing heat between the pool and these machines. The effort spent on these pipes won't be wasted, they'll still be useful later. We found a bunch of wild plug slugs. They could be helpful for our bionics. Just extend the wires into the room, use doors to make sure they can't escape, and we can enjoy some free power. The researches are all done. Let's start smelting steel and build the steam room for our permanent cooling setup. Alright, the cooling system is online. This gas pump was used initially to remove random gas from the steam room. It's gonna be broken soon due to overheating, but we shall thank it for its sacrifice. Although we're really short on metal, 50 kilograms of metal can't even make a single power bank. Now that we have the powerful cooling loop, we can break into the oil biome with delicious metal that was once too dangerously hot. We're doing this challenge without Atmos suits, if you still remember. We just have to extend the existing cooling loop to guide cold water downwards. Some temporary scalding might happen, but hey, this is not the place to sleep. Don't scald yourselves for no reason. I've redesigned the rocket to fit a telescope. The rocket will now be able to scout the star map while in space. Since we just gained access to more metal ore, we should have some metal preserved to support another long rocket journey. We really need to hurry up. We've solved the heating issue, but we're still struggling with power and water shortage problems. And these naughty bionics can always find a way to create even more problems. I suddenly realized the oxygen is getting thin. Looks like the pool near the cool steam vent has went dry, because the vent has gone dormant. I gotta release the water trapped on the left side, and use up some of our emergency ice reserve. Our actions might look kinda reckless, but when the bionics are incapacitated by power outage every cycle, scalding doesn't feel like a big deal. The second rocket is ready to launch. It's carrying resources to support the scouting rocket we launched earlier. We need 2 trailblazers to land on a new planet properly, so whatever new planet we discover, both rockets have to meet there. The metal power banks can be used as portable power. Just insert them into compact dischargers, and we have enough power to operate the telescope. But we still need an oxygen source. I have brought polluted dirt for this purpose. This rocket interior is really confined. We have to deconstruct the rocket control station before we can fit the sublimation station. But they are running out of oxygen already. We are so close to suffocation once again. I guess we are safe for now? It looks weird that we are flying without rocket control station, but the only time the rocket control station is absolutely needed is when the rocket is launching. Other than that, the rocket can operate without the station, and even without a pilot. The rocket would be flying with a 50% speed penalty, but we're not in a hurry anyway because we have to wait until the telescope finishes revealing the star map. We've just revealed the water planet. This is such a huge discovery. If we are able to develop a colony on a gigantic ocean, we could have an endless source of oxygen and hydrogen power. At first glance, the water planet seems to be too far away for carbon dioxide engine. But rockets can land from orbit even without fuel, so they could actually travel 7 tiles in the star map instead of 6. All of our 100 bionics just survived 100 days. In my previous 100 dupes and 200 dupes challenge, I would have considered this as a win. But for this run, our bionics at home are still constantly suffering from power outage every day. I just couldn't end the run like this. I really want to see if we can thrive in the water planet. We can already peek at the planet's surface, but we can't land yet. We must deploy both trailblazers at the same time so we have enough resources to build a rocket platform right away. Gotta wait for the second rocket to catch up. Alright, both rockets have arrived. Let the landing procedure begin. We have 2 rockets waiting to land, but only 1 rocket platform. Which one should we land first? I was hesitating for a while, but then I realized I could just deconstruct the rocket that landed first, then I can land the second one. All the resources and materials inside a deconstructed rocket will be refunded and bottled, so we would not lose anything. The imminent threat in the new planet is suffocation. We have to start electrolyzing, and we don't even have time to build a proper setup. I have to build it somewhere random and start producing oxygen right now. We have almost exhausted the metal power banks we brought for the journey. They could run manual generators to recharge the power banks, but remember how our home was running out of power every day? They are forever occupied running the wheels, and can hardly do anything useful. I don't want this new planet to end up like that. I want to start utilizing hydrogen power now, and expand as soon as possible. And yeah, we don't have a gas filtering system, but we could live with the wrong element damage for a while. Normally, it's a terrible idea to release hydrogen into the base like this, but our bionics have learned the skills. They are immune to eye irritation and toasty surroundings, so they are not bothered at all. The only thing that is really bothering them is still power shortage after all. Broken hydrogen generators can be rebuilt, but no bionics will be sacrificed. I have brought some slime from the metallic swampy planet and it can be processed into phyto oil for lubrication. It's not the top tier of lubricant, but much better than grinding gears. The power supply is still very tight, but now that most of the infrastructure is completed, they will have more time to run the manual generator. Let's give them some time and see if they can make a bit of excess power, so we are more comfortable with more projects to do. Our metal planet is once again a huge mess. I thought I have removed most of the ice that was problematic, but meteor showers have brought more annoying stuff for us. Now we can spare some time to improve the water base. Canister filler and canister drainer will serve as a perfect power-free gas filtering system. The ocean keeps running away from us, so we need a deeper pump. An apothecary to craft gear bombs would be really nice. We ran out of clean water at home, so we stopped crafting them, but water is basically infinite here. Oops, our home is running out of oxygen. The water pool at second planet must have went dry, but we have some pools that can be released with a few digging order. That shall buy us some time to open up more pools. Fresh water is flowing in and electrolyzers are working once again. I guess we would be defeated if we noticed it 2 cycles later. The expansion towards the left was done steady and slow because of the ocean, but it could be done much faster on the other side. We already made a ceiling with tiles to catch any gas that would ever leak from the right. Now we have the space, we can build the proper hydrospawn just like the ones we have in home planet. They shall convert water to oxygen and power much more efficiently. We've built 2 hydras, and everything seems to be going smoothly, but the ocean is taking revenge on us. Water is sneaking into the bottom of our base. We gotta mop them out now, and build some tiles to serve as the breakwater. Meanwhile, our bionics at home are still running out of power every cycle. It has been like this for the last 100 days, but things are about to change. Once the water planet starts generating excess power reliably, it will be ready to accept more bionic immigrants. The life here is really harsh, but I'm never gonna give them up. Unfortunately, the ocean did not give up on revenge either. The waves are back again. Even more water is pouring into our base. Oh shit! Our tiles are getting pressure damage. Why is the water suddenly pushing so hard against us? If we build 2 layers of tiles, they would have a better resistance to pressure damage. If we make it 3 layers, then they will be completely immune. We must save this base. Our bionics at home are still desperately waiting to emigrate. The flood isn't over yet, but I can't wait anymore. It's time to pick the bionics with better health status to be the emigrants. More bionics means more labor to mop the floor, right? We don't have extra metal power banks to support the full journey anymore, but there are a lot of metal in the 3rd planet waiting for us. Once we landed on the metal planet, we can refuel the rocket and recharge our bionics easily. Maybe I forgot to prepare some extra metal power banks in advance. But we do have the metal deposits and we have 18 dupe to dig and craft. There might be incapacitation, there might be shocking, but are we ever afraid of these? There's nothing we can't solve with metal, water, and sponge. Within 3 cycles, we have dealt with all the power and flooding crisis. Water planet, here we come! We already built 3 hydrospalms, but to actually convert hydrogen into power, I better prepare more hydrogen generators, power chargers, and power plant rooms before our teammates arrive. I don't want to make the same mistake twice. More infrastructure needs to be done, but with 10 new bionics joining, the power plants and lavatories should be completed in no time. Suffocation? Not again! They just won't stop suffocating inside a base full of oxygen. This run with 100 bionics feels less laggy than 100 dupes at first, but this kind of phantom suffocation still keep happening. But there is good news. We have 3 million joule of power bank reserve at home. I can't remember the last time I've seen this number higher than 1 million. It seems moving 10 bionics out really helps with power issue. Our home planet is gonna thrive. We just have to remember securing the water supply in the 2nd planet. The saltwater geyser here is currently dormant, but we found a new hot steam vent. Its scorching output temperature can feel intimidating, but it's located in a frozen biome. We might be able to use the water and get away without any proper cooling for a very long time. Speaking of steam, I'm thinking if we can use steam rockets to travel between planets. Their fuel requirement is not much. A full trip of 10 tiles in Star Map requires only 150 kilograms of steam or water. That's not even 1/10 of our daily water consumption. One of their advantages is the rocket generates 600 watts of power while flying, so we could charge some power banks during the journey? Trying to steal the hot water from the steam vent isn't very safe, but I guess you wouldn't be surprised by incapacitated dupes in this run. We already have a triage cot ready for rescue, but maybe, next time I should put the triage cot closer to the vent. But Bionics isn't the only thing we are rescuing. Who has the heart to not rescue a lovely little trapped critter? The 10 new immigrants have settled down in the water planet. Let's expand and build more power plants again, so we can embrace even more immigrants. Now we need to find a way to produce steam to fuel the rocket. I considered using aquatuner for a while, but then I decided it's easier to use the heat from smelting steel. The setup kinda looks like the permanent metal refinery setup, except we aren't using steam turbines here. By the way, there will be a new DLC called the Aquatic Planet Pack. With the DLC update, we could just boil water with liquid tepodizer with a much simpler setup in the future. Not again! Where did the oxygen go? Our water source is still supplying us normally, so that's not the problem. Wow! This desalinator is disconnected from our power grid. I must have accidentally deconstructed it when I was rerouting the wires. Even at this stage, we could lose the colony with a single mistake. Alright, we have fueled the steam rocket and carried extra steam with the gas cargo canister module. This allows the rocket to refuel itself after it lands on other planets. Now we just have to pick the lucky bionics for this emigration rocket. Put them on a nice downtime to recharge power banks and refill oxygen tanks, and it's time to launch again. Carbon dioxide rocket is the fastest rocket, but steam rocket is the slowest of all, so it will take us much longer to reach the destination than we are used to. But our target is really close, it's only 3 tiles away from home. On top of that, rocket launching and landing is completed almost instantly. Our rocket virtually just have to travel 1 tile to complete the journey. We have landed in the metal planet, or we can call it the relay station. Let's refuel the rocket and bring more oxygen source on board for our next journey. We've never electrolyzed in this planet, so what we can find here is more polluted dirt to sublimate into polluted oxygen. Since the rocket refuel is completed, we don't need this gas cargo canister anymore. I'm gonna remove it so the rocket would travel faster. We have just gave all the passengers a nice downtime to fully recharge themselves. It's time to embark for the bionic paradise, Water Planet. We will expect to land at Water Planet in exactly 3 cycles. Since a fully recharged bionic have the power to run for 4 cycles, we should... Wait! Looks like some of the bionics didn't get a full recharge. They need to consume 360 kilojoules of power in 3 cycles, so some of them might not make it. Should we turn back and start over again? Considering bionics out of power won't die as long as they still have oxygen, we could take the chance. We've already gone through countless incapacitation crises in this run, so why should we back out this time? We definitely need emergency measures. As we mentioned, the real threat is suffocation. I'm gonna try expanding the water-based ceiling so some oxygen could be contained in the rocket landing zone. I'll also dig a hole to hold oxygen canisters. I want oxygen to be immediately accessible once the new emigrants step out of the rocket. What we can do in the rocket is to carefully calculate the list of bionics that would run out of power or oxygen before landing. During this 3 cycles, I'm gonna force them to do downtime as much as I can. I could only wait for the sublimation station to generate oxygen gradually. It's a shame that I did not bring oxygen canisters on board. Bionics suck oxygen so violently that any one of them could vacuum the entire room almost instantly. I have to keep redoing the calculations and readjusting the downtime to feed enough oxygen for everyone. I have done everything I can, we can only hope for the best. As expected, many bionics run out of power just before landing. But good news is we didn't get any suffocation warning. Are they gonna make it? We did it! Not a single bionic suffocated. But it's not celebration time yet. We must add more generators and chargers to support the new teammates. We couldn't build these in advance because we have run out of metals and cannot build new ones until the rocket arrived. Wow, the base is flooding again. It looks like the Bionics vomited gunk into the pool and the displaced water just leaked into our base. We can fix the vomiting later. Let's just open up this tiny pool of water and mop them out before they can cause us any problem again. We are running out of power banks again, but we haven't been getting critical power level warnings for quite a while. Our tuned up hydrogen generators and the manual generators should be sufficient to power them up. Our second planet looks quite nice. It's now running with a low population and a hydra spawn. Since 30 people have left the home planet, the water demand is also cut by a third. Since we're collecting water from the new steam vent, we'll have enough water until the saltwater geyser becomes active again. The third planet is a paradise as always. There are still so many polluted dirt and metal waiting for us to dig. We didn't even start using all the polluted water yet. We could happily live in this planet for hundreds or even thousands of cycles. The home planet finally got out from the never-ending power outage. With only 65 bionics left, our 12 hydras on top of manual generators are more than enough to power everyone. The overheating issue is permanently solved by the steam turbine and aqua tuner, and we can definitely migrate more bionics to the water planet if we want. Although I'll probably just use carbon dioxide rockets. A few cycles after we settle down, I am confident to say we are thriving in the water planet. Water can be intimidating to bionics at first, but it's the source of oxygen and power. It's the fundamental element of life. But hey, here comes the new Aquatic Planet Pack DLC. We are surrounded by water everywhere, and dupes are able to swim and adapt to the new terrain. But what if we start with full bionics? Would water still be our friend, or would it be a complete bionic nightmare? Maybe you want to subscribe so you don't miss the next video.